takes it to the bag, and Tampa Bay takes this one on a Sunday night. 7-3 the final score. Red Sox do win the series. This was a game of missed opportunities. They had a lot of chances to pile up a lot more runs. It got away late. 10 men left, and now it's on to Toronto.
Yeah, 3 in the first. You're behind it right away. And the Bats had many opportunities. A one-run game going to that 8th inning. If you got the lead, you see a different pitcher in the 8th. You win the series. Now you're moving on. You got 6 to go, Obi. Got to put it on the big boy pants. Go and take 2 out of 3 in Toronto.
Amazing to think. Just 6 left.
Well, here you go. Opener tonight in Toronto. Take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays, as Lou Merlone said. I don't know if I'm quite that optimistic. I almost think 1 out of 3 would be a win, given what the Red Sox have done against the Blue Jays this year. But here we are, 6 days to go in the season, 6 games to play, and the Red Sox are clustered with a bunch of other teams in the American League standings. 2 playoff spots for 4 teams is what it comes down to. 2 playoff spots for 4 teams, and I'll give you the loose math here. I am curious as to how people feel this is all going to go, because the odds are in the Red Sox favor if you believe Fangraphs and you believe just the schedule, which I'll get to momentarily. But New York right now has a lead in the wild card race, 3 games ahead of the Red Sox in the loss column with 6 to play. The Yankees, for all intents and purposes, are in. Okay, not mathematically, but for all intents and purposes, the Yankees are in. New York has 88 wins, the most that Cleveland and Houston can get is 90. So if the Yankees just go 2-4 this week, they're basically going to make the playoffs. Okay, so New York is essentially in. Again, they could fail if they tank down the stretch, but the Yankees have had an easy schedule. So of the next 4 teams, Boston, Cleveland, Houston, and who am I leaving out? Boston, Cleveland, Houston, and Detroit. 2 of those teams are going to get in, I believe. 2 of those teams are going to get in, and it's going to be, after that, it's who knows what the hell's going to happen. So 617-779-0985. That was convincing, was it not, Jimmy Stewart? To me, say 2 are going to get in. So this is where we are with the Red Sox. They go to the Blue Jays tonight. 3-7 the Red Sox are against the Blue Jays this season, and they will be facing Kevin Gausman in the opener, who has owned the Red Sox over really the 4 years he's been in Toronto. Toronto was 9-3 in games started by Gausman against the Red Sox over the last 4 years, and that includes this season and earlier this season. And his only start against Boston, Gausman went 8 innings, allowed 4 hits, 1 run. It was unearned. He struck out 10, and the Blue Jays won the game 2-1 in 11 innings. So the Red Sox had a well-pitched game that day, but they lost nonetheless. Last year, Gausman beat the Red Sox 6-1, also 9-4, and has had other victories against the Red Sox over the last 4 years of 6-3, 6-5, 28-5. You remember that game, Jimmy Stewart? That one at Fenway Park? I called that game on Nesson, by the way. 7-2, 6-5, 3-2. Gausman has owned your ass. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Indians will be facing the Detroit Tigers head-to-head in a 3-game series. Those teams are currently tied for the lead in the American League Central. One of them is going to win the division, and the obvious favorite will be whoever wins the series over the next 3 nights. So the Red Sox, as long as they take care of business in Toronto, if the Red Sox win 2 games in Toronto, they will pick up a game on somebody in the wild card race. Worst case, if they win 1 game, they'll be in the same spot that they're in right now, which is a game up. This is all a little convoluted and confusing. I'm getting confused just telling you about it. But the bottom line is, if the Red Sox win 1 game, there's still going to be 1 up in the wild card race coming out on the other end going into the final weekend of the season. Then Detroit comes. So let me just give you this quickly because I think it's important. How these teams have fared in the month of September. Jimmy, do you feel like the Red Sox have had a bad September, that they're falling apart?
Yeah, because they're like 10-9 in September, I think.
Okay, is 10-9 falling apart?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From where they were. They lost, 6 games?
Okay, so this is my question. And I'm curious as to how people are going to remember this. I've said this over and over and over again this week, and really even into last week, about where the Red Sox are and what the general response will be among fans if the Red Sox don't make the playoffs. And I'm not sure if many fans are going to be as outraged as I'd like to think. In fact, I kind of hope you would be outraged if they don't make the playoffs. You should be outraged given where they were a couple of weeks ago. But I have had a number of people call in and say things like, they've already overachieved, they lost Roman Anthony, they're undermanned, if they don't make the playoffs, no big deal, they're going to lose in the first round anyway. And I don't really understand any of that logic. Any of it. You had a 6-game lead as recently as a few weeks ago. It was in your possession. At that point, we were talking about winning the division and or getting home field in the wild card. Now it's going to feel like a miracle if they just get in, or an accomplishment if they just get in.
And Tony, by the way, they're 9-9 in September, but here's why I think it would be a collapse, and I would be angered by it. You can't drop 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. You got to sweep Cleveland. You can't drop 2 out of 3 to Arizona. You can't split 6 games against the homeless Athletics. I can accept losing 2 of 3 to the Yankees, even though I don't like being no hit by something named Gil. But you should be better than 9-9 in September.
So, Jimmy, this is an important distinction, and I'm glad you brought it up. The Red Sox are 9-9 in the month of September, which doesn't feel like a collapse, but the quality of the competition has been beatable and then some. So they've lost to bad teams, or they've gone 500 against bad teams for the most part. So let me just run through this, because I think the way this will be portrayed nationally, certainly from the Red Sox standpoint, is that they fell apart down the stretch. They got some injuries. They couldn't overcome it, and they missed the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, that's how it will look, or that's how it'll be portrayed. I'm telling you that if Cleveland gets in and the Red Sox do not, the national media is going to look at the Indians as having played their way in while the Red Sox didn't.
Guardians.
Correct. Thank you, Jimmy. The Guardians having played their way in versus a Red Sox collapse. So these are teams' records in the month of September going into the final week of the season. Cleveland is 16-5. That is the best record in the American League. In fact, Cleveland owns the best record in all of baseball. Now, I'm not telling you I don't consider this a Red Sox collapse. I do, if they don't get in. They fell apart. They were up 6. And they had winnable games against bad competition, and more importantly, Giolito, Bayo, really over the last couple of weeks have hurt them. They've lost 3 of the 4 games started by those 2 guys. But back to the standings in the month of September. Cleveland, 16-5, that's first. Seattle is 14-5, that's second. Those have been the 2 hottest teams in the league. The Yankees are 12-7, that's fourth. Toronto is 11-8. That's fifth. The Jays had a lead in the division, and they've actually padded it here of late. The Red Sox are 9-9. That's seventh. It's mediocre. But relative to the competition, they've gotten their ass kicked basically by 4 other teams. They have lost a game and a half to Toronto. They have lost 2 games in the standings to the Yankees. They've lost 4.5 to Seattle, and they have lost 7 and 4, 11, 5.5 to Cleveland. Behind the Red Sox, Houston is 9-10. The Tigers are 5-13. That is the second worst record in the American League. Your final series of the year, is against the Tigers at Fenway Park over the weekend. So, my question to you, how are you going to look at this if they don't make it? And do you give them a chance in the first round? I find these to be the most interesting questions because people who have called in recent days have said this won't be a collapse or have indicated that the Red Sox have done what they needed to do to satisfy their desires and wants as a fan. And that the injury to Roman Anthony and the one that gets me more than anything, Jimmy Stewart, is the quote-unquote fatigue of the pitching staff. These guys have hit the wall as if what? They can't pitch 162, the full 162? Or they can't pitch the final week of the season? That somehow hurts them? So what, it's too much to ask Brian Bayo to pitch more innings than he did a year ago? Because he has actually pitched fewer innings than he did last season. Or Lucas Giolito, who's a big league veteran, it's too much to ask him to pitch all the way down the stretch 150 innings? That it's understandable if those guys are getting tired, even with a playoff spot on the line? See, I don't buy that. And the Red Sox have actually gotten a little bit of a shot in the arm from some of these young guys. Connor Learley came in and pitched. Kyle Harrison came in and pitched. Peyton Tolley gave him a start. That's 2, 3, or 4 starts. Three games that they've won by each of them. A total of 3. 617-779-0985 is your number. We'll also check in with someone in Toronto. Ian Browne up there for MLB.com. We'll get his assessment of what the Red Sox were saying before tonight's game with the Blue Jays.
This is the Baseball Hour on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Maz for Bigelow Tea, and you know what I like more than anything? Choices, options.
Sox win the game 4-3.
Boy, did they need that. And isn't that just proof of everything we've talked about over the last few days? You don't have to crush it in these situations. Just find a way to put the ball in play, and things will happen. Weird things happen in extra innings with infields in. That was it right there. Platinum Glover at second base. Couldn't glove it and make the play.
Hamilton comes scampering home for third, and the Red Sox Sox get a bit of a gift there, but they'll take it. And they snap the 3-game skid, and Trevor Story writes a nice ending to this one. He put it in play. Of all people, Jimenez booting the ball at the end there. And the Red Sox will steal this one, 4-3 the final.
You remember that one? That was early in the season. Second week of the year, first homestand maybe? Red Sox played the Blue Jays. They lost the first 3 games of the series. They were about to lose the last one. And you know what happened? That. Blue Jays made an error. Trevor Story dribbled one to the right side. The game-winning run scored. After all those strikeouts early in the year when the Red Sox couldn't put the ball in play, that was a harbinger of things to come on multiple levels. One, that the Red Sox had a strikeout problem. 2, that their success was going to depend on their ability in many of these games to put the ball in play and get the runs home. And they had a couple of rallies like that in the last week where they've been able to just put the ball in play and get the run home, not the least of which was the contact play with Nick Sogard and Nate Eaton at third base. Anyway, 617-779-0985. It's nut-cutting time in Major League Baseball, final week of the season. Red Sox have it on their plate. Do they get in it or not? We want your thoughts. And also, we want to get up to speed on what's going on in Toronto, particularly before the game tonight. We bring in Ian Browne from MLB.com, someone I've known a very long time. He's kind enough to help out the show from time to time. So, Ian, how you doing? Everything good up there?
Man, everything's good. Nice to have a final week of the season where the games mean something. It's been a while.
It has been a while, Ian, and the only thing worse than, and I shouldn't even say that, because it's better to play meaningful games down the stretch and not get in than it is to not play them at all. But the Red Sox obviously in a spot here. They have a 1-game lead for what could be the final wild card spot, both over Cleveland and Detroit. I'm just curious, as they have not had a lot of success with the Jays this season, 3-7, I think it is, in the 10 games. So what is the vibe up there among the team here before the opener of the series?
Yeah, the vibe is pretty good. I mean, I think they really had to win 2 out of 3 in Tampa like they did. A sweep would have been better. But coming off that homestand, which is just kind of a flat homestand, they need to get some momentum, and I think they got that on Friday and Saturday, so they put themselves in a decent spot here coming into the last week. So, they have had problems with the Blue Jays. And the funny thing is, when they came to Toronto in late April, and as you said, the Toronto took 3 out of 4, but when they came here in late April, people were freaking out about the Blue Jays not playing well. And then they came back from 6-0, if you remember one of those games. Giolito's first start of the year, they chipped away against him, and then I think Vlad or someone hit a huge home run off Slayton, so that was a big loss at the time, and that kind of turned Toronto around at the time. But, I'm looking forward to see how they respond to this challenge, because Toronto's trying to close out the division, so these are big games for them too, so it should be a good atmosphere out here.
So, Ian, one thing that happens, obviously, when the team's on the road, particularly up there, is that those of us down here don't see a lot, barring things that pop up on the internet. But Alex Cora, I presume, has already had his media briefing, his pregame media briefing?
Yeah, Cora and Breslow actually did kind of a State of the Union today, too.
Okay.
So,
And was there anything substantive that came out of either one of those things?
Just for Breslow, just the fact that Roman Anthony is not he's experienced a lot less soreness, but he's not really close to baseball activities yet. So any kind of pipe dream of him coming back within the next week or two, I think, would be unrealistic. I think that ALCS is still, probably the earliest possible threshold that you'll see him.
Okay, so that's the indication you got from Breslow. Ian, early on, I think there was some speculation that there might be an outside chance that Anthony could play in the final week of the season, which I thought was ridiculous from the get-go.
Well, yeah, we were kind of getting mixed signals, Tony, because Alex Cora threw out that 4 to 6 week timeline. Yeah. And at the same time, he said he told Roman Anthony to envision leading off game 1 of the ALCS, which was 2 to 3 weeks later than the 4 to 6 week than the 4 weeks would have been. So it seemed like the 4 weeks was never in play. Just in the last week or so, the soreness has finally subsided. So he was just really sore even walking around. So this is a pretty good strain he got. So, right now he's just treadmill, spike. Until he starts picking up a bat and picking up a baseball, there's really not much to get excited about here.
Okay, and you got the indication from Breslow that the idea of next week is probably still out as well.
Yeah, just the fact that, Breslow kind of put it that he's not like really close to baseball activity. So it's hard to say, it's all symptomatic, but yeah, you won't see Roman Anthony play in a wild card series if that's what you're asking. I think maybe midway through a division series or the beginning of the ALCS, I think that would be the absolute best case scenario right now.
Okay. In the interim, let's start with the Toronto series. The Red Sox reconfigured their pitching rotation here and move some things around a little bit. Giolito will pitch the opener, then Crochet will go, and they bumped Brian Bayo back a couple of days, so he will now pitch in the finale of this series on Thursday. Was the move made largely to just accommodate Bayo or give Bayo more of a rest there? And obviously it sounds like they're concerned about him.
Yeah, he's a younger guy than the other two, Tony, and his last two starts were kind of not what you were looking for at that time. So I think that giving him a blow is a good idea here, and I just think this puts Giolito in position to pitch that final Sunday if that game means anything. And I think they like having a veteran out there for that game, and this also. It gives Crochet, though he's pitching on regular rest this time, by pitching Wednesday instead of Thursday, he'll have an extra day before that first game of a wild card series on next Tuesday. And also, say it did come down to that last game. Now you put Crochet in a situation where he could maybe pitch out of the bullpen, give you an inning or two, if you're in a real bind and you need a game to make it to the playoffs there.
So, Ian, I was going to ask you about that. The idea of Crochet going tomorrow would mean that he'd be on 3 days rest if they somehow get into a situation where they need to win the finale on Sunday. But the way you just said that suggests to me there's no chance of him starting on 3 days rest if they need him.
I don't think so, just because, look, his starts even on 4 days rest haven't been always dominant this year. So I think that you would have him at the ready, though, in the bullpen. You see what you can get from Giolito. I just don't think Crochet would start that game. He does have some experience in the bullpen from earlier in his career, so that wouldn't be unfamiliar to him. But I think, at this point, I think it's more likely to see like maybe a 2 or 3 inning bullpen stint than a start.
Okay, any surprises in the lineup tonight?
No, pretty much going with what they had. Abreu was back in right field. His first game back, he looked really rusty. He struck out in all 4 at bats, DH. So just getting him back in the outfield is a good thing because they've arguably missed his glove as much as his bat. This guy's a great right fielder. So just having the Duran, Rafaela, Abreu combination in the outfield is a pretty good one.
Okay, Ian, last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to sort of look into your crystal ball here a little bit and speculate. But we've had, and this is not a majority of the fan base, Ian. It's I would say a smaller segment of the fan base. But there are people that feel like the Red Sox have already accomplished what they needed to accomplish. I disagree with them. I think that getting into the playoffs is important for them. And that, frankly, if they get in, they can, given that they have Crochet at the front of the rotation, they still might be able to make noise, at least in the wild card series, which is 2 out of 3. And as you said, Crochet is set up to pitch game 1. So if I were to ask you today, in their current state, do you think they can win the wild card series if they get in? What would your answer be?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm leaning no, Tony, just because of what I've seen offensively has not really impressed me very much ever since Anthony went down. And granted that Anthony and Abreu were down at the same time, but if you're going to win a series, you're going to need some guys to get hot. And Bregman showed some signs of it over the weekend, but this is a guy who's really been a disappointment in September. I mean, you thought this guy was going to be the guy who's going to be coming through with the money on the line here. So they just really need to get Bregman going. Rafaela had a good weekend in Tampa, so hopefully he keeps that going. So just their offense would need to uptick and just make some noise again. And Alex Cora said something interesting that usually the teams that go deep in the playoffs are teams that hit the ball out of the ballpark. So that's why I heard you saying before I came on how that's so important for them to make contact, because if you're a team that strikes out a lot and don't hit the ball out of the ballpark, that's a terrible combination. So making contact right now is paramount for this team. Story and Abreu are really the only guys who have hit with much power this year.
Ian, is there anything wrong with Bregman that has affected his performance? Like, is it the leg?
He says no. He swears no. You never know, but he's a very mechanical guy. He's not just a kind of like a Nomar, like a grip it and rip it type of hitter. So I think he gets in his own head with a lot of the analytics and a lot. He's breaking down video constantly. You see it in the clubhouse. So I just think he's been streaky in his career. So usually his bad streaks have been early in the season. Then he has a monster second half. So he's kind of done the opposite this year, but he did look a lot better. He stopped expanding. He stopped swinging at balls in Tampa, and even at the end of the homestand. So I think that he's looking to get more locked in right now.
Okay, Ian, before we let you go again, I lied. I had more questions.
That's all right. I got time.
Okay.
I got time.
Well, so the Jays have given them difficulty this year. Gosman has basically owned them ever since he got to Toronto. They had one good game where they put a beating on him a couple of years ago. But otherwise, he's made 12 starts. The Jays have won 9 of those over the last, counting this season, 4 seasons. But if I were to ask you today, do you think they're going to get in? Obviously, the fact that Cleveland and Detroit are playing one another helps them out. If the Red Sox win one game in this series, they're guaranteed to still have a one-game lead over whichever of those teams falls in the wild card race. So do you feel like, just candidly, do you feel like they're going to make it?
Yeah, I feel like they're going to make it just because, look, they really put themselves in position with some of these tiebreakers. They have a tiebreaker against Cleveland. They have a tiebreaker against Houston. So, yeah, I think they'll find a way. I mean, Fangraphs still has them at 90%, which is amazing to me, with 6 games left in the season leading by a game. But, that game is essentially a 2-game lead when you look at the tiebreaker. So, yeah, I think they'll find a way to scratch out. They need 2-3 wins at most to get in, and I think they'll find a way to get there.
All right, Ian. We'll see how it goes. Should be an eventful week.
Yes, we will. Great talking to you, Tony.
Listen, thanks for your time. All right, much appreciated. That's Ian Browne of MLB.com. He's up at the Rogers Center in Toronto, where the Red Sox open a 3-game series with the Jays tonight. Don't go anywhere. I see all of you lined up. Kevin Majori is going to get you caught up on headlines. We'll take your calls when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox, who are currently in possession of the second wild card spot in the American
give away a $50 gas card from Gulf to fuel your way to Fenway. Trivia Tuesday presented by Gulf. Take the first 2 callers on the contest line, 617-931-0985. If neither of those 2 can answer one question correctly, we'll bring in another 2. 617-931-0985. Again, that's Trivia Tuesday presented by Gulf. We'll get to your calls here right away. Again, Red Sox playing for their postseason lives this week, along with a handful of other teams in Major League Baseball or in the American League. And I'll tell you that if you like playoff races, this one actually is pretty good. So 6 games to go in the American League for just about everybody. Most everyone has exactly 6. No, everyone does have 6 left now. There were a handful of teams that played last night, but not many. And as it relates to the wild card race, the Red Sox, the Guardians, the Astros, and the Detroit Tigers, those 4 teams are all within 1 game of one another. The Red Sox are a game ahead of the Red Sox and Tigers are both 85 and 71. Cleveland and Houston are 84 and 72. Seattle's going to get in. New York is going to get in. And those aren't mathematically official yet, but you get the idea. Those teams are ahead of the pack. So it should be an interesting week in Major League Baseball. Dave is in Malden. Dave, what do you got?
Hey, Maz, real quick, you said 2 out of 3 at the beginning of the show. It's going to be 3 out of 4 because of Cleveland and Detroit. And that's the thing. First of all, anybody around here that says, oh, it's great that we're going to be able to watch baseball till Sunday, they don't really get it. But the whole thing is it's going to be unbelievable if they could have the destiny in their own hands coming down to this weekend with Detroit, and that's going to be great baseball.
Dave, and you're right. I made that mistake. They already have their destiny in their own hands. If they win, they're in. If they just win pretty much every night, they're in. In fact, they don't even have to win every night because they're a game up on the field and they have the tiebreakers. So if they finish tied with Cleveland, they're in. So, and over the next 3 nights, and this is, again, it gets complicated and confusing because none of us have, or few of us have the space in our heads to sort it all out. But over the next 3 nights, Cleveland or Detroit is guaranteed to lose 2 games. One of those teams is going to lose at least 2 games over the next 3 nights. So if the Red Sox just take care of business in Toronto, if they can win this series with the Jays, they're going to come out with what amounts to a 2-game lead in the wild card race or something close to it with 3 games to go. And I'm factoring in the tiebreakers there as well. But if they can take 2 out of 3 from the Jays, they're going to be in good shape. The problem is that the Jays are throwing Kevin Gossman at the beginning of the series, who has owned the Red Sox. Crochet goes in the middle. That's good, albeit on 4 days of rest, where he's been a little shaky. And then Bayo goes in the finale. That one will be against Shane Bieber. So, but I will tell you that Toronto has played better for the majority of the season. They certainly have played better head-to-head. And there's no predicting what the hell's going to happen in these games. Players respond differently to pressure. It's not, you can't use the same mentality that you would use during the regular season. Eric is in Reading. Thinks it's a disgrace if the Red Sox don't make the playoffs. Go ahead, Eric.
Maz, it is a disgrace. If they do, it'll be in spite of themselves. Do not reload after ref endeavors to bank on just a banged-up Alex Bregman and a 21-year-old kid. No, it's not enough. They should have gotten way more run-producing bats to complement the pitching when they have off-night, stuff like that. Thanks for letting me vent. Love you. You're the best. Bye.
Okay, so, Eric, that's part of it. I mean, people can certainly go back to the deadline. The other way to look at it is that these guys have kind of gone into the tank, at least some of the pitchers have, in the last couple of weeks. I've said it over and over again as it pertains to Bayo and Giolito. Games started this year, as recently as before the Yankee series. The Red Sox had played 78 games started by Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito. They were 52 and 26. They were a 667 team with those three guys on the mound. In the last 2 weeks, they've gone 1-3. And the one game they won, they kind of stole. So, and I'm really focusing now on Bayo and Giolito more than they've won the Crochet games. But the other guys, they basically have won 2 out of 3 all year long. And all of a sudden, they lose 3 out of 4. We do have a couple of contestants on the line for the Gulf Gas Card. So we'll start with Joe, who's in Everett. Joe, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, nothing super fancy tonight. Pretty basic questions. Who's the manager of the Blue Jays?
Ooh. Ricard?
Nope, that is incorrect. I don't know who Ricard is. Jimmy, do you know who the manager of the Blue Jays is?
Cito Gaston?
Very good, Jimmy. Very funny. John Schneider is the manager of the Blue Jays. So, I asked this because there was a time when if you asked who the manager of the Blue Jays, or if I asked the manager of the Yankees, everyone would know that. But this is what happens now. People don't follow it like they used to. So you ask something simple like who's the manager of the other team, and the people don't know. There was a time when Red Sox fans knew the name of every manager and every team in the American League, let alone baseball. Let's bring in Sheldon and Sharon as contestant 2. Sheldon,
hello.
You there?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Sheldon?
Fine, thank you. I didn't think I was going to have a chance, but I wouldn't have got John Schneider, so I'll be honest with you.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask you that question. So that
I know. Thank goodness you're not. Okay, go ahead. Shoot.
What's the name of Toronto's home stadium?
Oh, my goodness. Boy, this is something. How long do you give me? About 5-10 seconds on this one?
It's about that, yeah.
Toronto's home stadium. Boy, my big chance I'm not even going to get. Any clues? Any clues?
No clues. Oh, shoot, I dumped the wrong person. I meant to dump Sheldon. Whoever was on the line, we'll take 2 more callers now, 617-931-0985 to give away the Gulf Gas Card. 617-931-0985. Fill your tank with a $50 gas card from Gulf. Jimmy, do you know the name of the stadium up there now? It used to be known as the Sky Dome. When it was built, it was the Sky Dome, the 8th wonder of the world, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what it's called now?
It's Rogers Center, right?
Very good, Jimmy Stewart.
I was going to call it Sky Dome until you did that.
It is the Rogers Center in Toronto. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the Maple Leafs Arena up there also known as the Rogers Center? Or Rogers?
Yeah, because they're the big cable company up there. They can buy everything.
Might be Rogers Arena. But anyway, we can take 2 more callers now. Still looking to give away the gas card. 617-931-0985. In the interim, here is Freddie in East Boston on the starting pitching. Go ahead, Freddie.
Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks for taking my call. Everything up there, I go up there for work for Toronto. Everything up there is the Rogers, the hospital and everything. Let me tell you, it's a beautiful city. I'm sure you've been up there many times.
Loved it. Love it.
Absolutely, and a man city too, if you know what I mean. But anyways, the last time I called, I was talking about how they were 115th and 24th in quality starts, Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito. And now I'm not sure what they are, but they've slipped off a lot. And with Crochet, in my opinion, outside of looking in, and if you can put him on 5 days rest, he's a different pitcher at this point.
Freddie, I think that's been true all year. The problem is that he's going to pitch tomorrow night on 4 days of rest. So you can only do that so many times during the course of the season unless you go to a 6-man rotation. I mean, this is the challenge of baseball. You play every day, and you're not always going to get off days. So if Garrett Crochet can't pitch well on 4 days rest going forward, that is kind of a problem. Now, look, this year, the large majority have come on 5 or 6 days of rest. So the Red Sox have been able to manage it. I think as recently as a couple of weeks ago, he had only made 9 starts all year, 9 with 4 days of rest. Now, the number might be up to 10 or 11, but still, that's only a third of all the games he's going to start during the season. So, and that's all well and good. They can manage their way around it some of the time. But ideally, you want a guy who can go every 5th day no matter what. And not because of the volume of starts. It just allows you to manage your staff better so that when you are facing teams that are going to be key opponents in the division or for the division title, what have you. You face a team that you want good pitching because the series means a little more. It's just nice to have the flexibility that he can go on 4 or 5, and you can configure it so you can get him in there. In this case, they had to configure it because of Bayo to get him in there on 4 days of rest, which is tomorrow night. Goes Giolito, Crochet, Bayo. And that also sets up Crochet to pitch with an extra day if they make the playoffs. Okay, back to the trivia. See if someone can get the question right. Dave is in Boston. He's our third contestant tonight. Dave, are you there?
Hey, how you doing, boys? Pressure's on.
Okay, here you go. The Blue Jays won the franchise's second World Series in 1993 when this player hit a walk-off home run to win Game 6 and give Toronto the World Championship. Who was he?
Oh, geez.
It's one of the most famous home runs in World Series history.
Joe Carter?
Joe Carter is correct. Very good. All right, there you go. I'll put you on hold. Jimmy and Kevin back there will take your information. My guess is he looked it up on his phone, Jimmy.
I'm just happy we got a winner.
We got a winner. We were going to get one in all probability on the next question.
I don't believe that.
Okay, do you want me to ask you the next question?
Sure.
You know the answer, though. Let's see if Sean back there, Sean the intern, you want to try to answer this?
You better hurry up. We had a Bruins game.
Okay, name the manager the Red Sox acquired in a trade with Toronto, who then managed the Red Sox to the 2013 World Series.
John Farrell?
John Farrell is correct. Very good. All right, there we go.